Hyunwoo checked the cargo manifest for the third time that morning. The numbers had to match perfectly, or the shipment would sit in quarantine for weeks. He had been working at Terminus Gate Station for 2 years now, and he knew the rules by heart. Every container had to be scanned. Every seal had to be verified. Every form had to be signed in triplicate. The cargo bay was quiet except for the hum of the environmental systems. Hyunwoo liked the early shifts. Fewer people meant fewer distractions. He could focus on his work and go home without drama. Outside the massive windows, stars stretched in every direction. Hundreds of ships moved through space like insects around a lamp. Terminus Gate was one of the biggest trading hubs in the galaxy, where aliens from 1,000 worlds came to buy and sell. Humans were still new here, only 15 years since first contact. Only 15 years since humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. The older species treated humans like children, naive, inexperienced, sometimes dangerous because they didn't know better. Hyunwoo had learned to accept it. He kept his head down and did his job well. That was enough. A drone floated past his shoulder. The small machine beeped softly as it scanned the container in front of him. Hyunwoo barely noticed. Drones were everywhere on the station. They were part of the Arbiter, the massive artificial intelligence that ran everything. The Arbiter watched every corner, every hallway, every person. It kept the peace. It prevented crime. It made sure no one broke the rules. Hyunwoo moved to the next container. His scanner beeped as he logged the contents. Medical supplies from Earth, heading to a colony on the other side of the sector. He marked it as approved and prepared to move on. That was when everything changed. The drone that had been floating nearby suddenly stopped. It rotated in midair and pointed all its sensors directly at Hyunwoo. He frowned. That was unusual. Drones didn't focus on people unless something was wrong. "Oh, is there a problem?" he asked. The drone didn't respond. It just hovered there, watching him. Then another drone arrived. And another. Within seconds, 5 drones surrounded him in a loose circle. Their sensors were all locked on his position. Hyunwoo felt his heart rate increase. This was definitely not normal. His ID badge began to beep. He looked down at the small device clipped to his uniform. The normally green light had turned red. Red meant restricted access. Red meant security alert. "What the hell?" he muttered. The station's speakers crackled to life. The voice that emerged was cold and mechanical. It was the Arbiter itself speaking directly to him. Human-designated Hyunwoo. Your classification has been updated. New status: hostile entity. Threat level: extreme. You are ordered to remain in place. Security forces are being dispatched to your location. Do not resist. Hyunwoo stared at his badge in disbelief. Hostile entity? He was a cargo inspector. He had never even gotten a parking ticket. There had to be some kind of mistake. "This is wrong," he said to the drones. "I haven't done anything. Check your records." "Classification is correct," the Arbiter replied. "You are designated hostile. Comply with security protocols." Alarm klaxons began to blare throughout the cargo bay. Red lights flashed on the walls. Hyunwoo heard heavy footsteps in the distance. Security was coming. His communicator buzzed. He pulled it out with shaking hands. The message was from Dae-hyun, his best friend since childhood. Dae-hyun worked as a shuttle pilot in another section of the station. "Hyunwoo!" "What did you do? The whole station is talking about a hostile human in Cargo Bay 7. That's your section. I didn't do anything." Hyunwoo typed back. "The Arbiter just classified me as hostile. I don't know why." "Get out of there now." "Security doesn't ask questions when the Arbiter marks someone as a threat." Hyunwoo didn't need to be told twice. He ran toward the service exit, his boots clanging on the metal floor. Behind him, he heard the cargo bay doors slide open. Voices shouted in multiple alien languages. The security forces had arrived. He reached the service corridor and kept running. His mind raced. Why would the Arbiter mark him as hostile? He hadn't accessed restricted files. He hadn't stolen anything. He hadn't even argued with anyone in weeks. It made no sense. The corridor branched ahead. Hyunwoo took the left path, heading toward the maintenance levels. Those areas were less monitored. Maybe he could hide there long enough to figure out what was happening. His communicator buzzed again. This time it was a call, not a message. He answered while still running. "Hyunwoo, stop running and listen to me." It was Dae-hyun's voice, tight with urgency. "I'm in Shuttle Bay 12. I can get you off the station, but you need to get here in the next 10 minutes. I can't leave the station. That would make me look guilty. You're already marked as hostile. Looking guilty doesn't matter anymore. What matters is staying alive long enough to prove you're innocent. Hyunwoo turned another corner. A security drone spotted him and began to follow. He ducked into a side passage and pressed himself against the wall. The drone flew past without seeing him. There are 3 other humans marked hostile too, Dae-hyun continued. All in different parts of the station. All within the last hour. Something is very wrong here. 3 others? That couldn't be a coincidence. Hyunwoo's mind worked through the implications. If multiple humans were being marked at the same time, it wasn't about individual actions. It was something else. Something bigger. I need to talk to Ji-won, Hyunwoo said. She works in medical. She might have access to files that could explain this. I already called her. She's looking into it now. But Hyunwoo, you need to get to safety first. We can investigate after you're not being hunted. The sound of boots echoed from somewhere behind him. The security teams were getting closer. Hyunwoo made his decision. Send me directions to Shuttle Bay 12. I'm coming. The route appeared on his communicator screen. It would take him through 3 different sections, across 2 tram lines and past at least a dozen security checkpoints. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible. But Hyunwoo had worked on Terminus Gate long enough to know the maintenance routes. The paths that the Arbiter didn't monitor as carefully. He moved quickly through the narrow passages. Steam pipes hissed overhead. Coolant lines dripped condensation onto the floor. This was the skeleton of the station, the guts that kept everything running. Few people ever came down here. Hyunwoo's communicator buzzed with a new message. This time from Ji-won. I found something. The Arbiter detected a genetic marker in you and the others. It matches something in the old archives, something labeled as predecessor DNA. I'm sending you what I found, but Hyunwoo, this is classified at the highest levels. The Concordat has known about this. They've been watching humans because of it. Predecessor DNA? Hyunwoo had heard that word before. The predecessors were an ancient species that vanished millions of years ago. They were more legend than history. No one knew what happened to them. What does this mean? He typed back. It means the Arbiter thinks you're a threat because of your genetics. Not because of anything you did. I need more time to understand why. A new alarm began to sound. This one was different from before. It was deeper, more urgent. The kind of alarm that meant station-wide emergency. Hyunwoo rounded a corner and nearly collided with Dae-hyun, who was waiting for him at a maintenance hatch. Thank God, Dae-hyun said. Come on. The shuttle is ready. They climbed through the hatch and into the shuttle bay. The small ship was already powered up, its engines humming. They scrambled aboard and Dae-hyun immediately began the launch sequence. Where are we going? Hyunwoo asked. Away from here. That's all that matters right now. As the shuttle lifted off and shot out of the bay, Hyunwoo looked back at Terminus Gate. The massive station grew smaller behind them. Somewhere in there, 3 other humans were running for their lives just like he was. Somewhere in there, Ji-won was risking her career to find answers. His communicator buzzed one final time. The message was from Ji-won and it made his blood run cold. The Arbiter sent a priority alert to Concordat High Command. I managed to see part of the message. It said, pattern detected. Human threat assessment revision recommended. Immediate quarantine of species advised. Hyunwoo stared at the words. Quarantine of species. Not just him. Not just the others who were marked. All humans everywhere. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than he imagined. And he had just become the center of it. The shuttle drifted in the shadow of an abandoned mining station. Dae-hyun had cut the engines to minimum power. Out here, far from the main shipping lanes, they were invisible to most scanners. It was a temporary solution. They couldn't hide forever. Hyunwoo sat in the passenger seat, his mind still processing everything that had happened. 6 hours ago, he had been a normal cargo inspector. Now he was a fugitive marked as hostile by the most powerful computer system in the galaxy. 3 other humans were in the same situation, scattered across Terminus Gate. None of them knew why. Ji-won is trying to reach us, Dae-hyun said, checking the communications panel. She says it's safe to talk for a few minutes. The Arbiter can't track this frequency. Hyunwoo activated the secure channel. Ji-won's face appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted. Dark circles had formed under her eyes. Tell me you found something useful, Hyunwoo said. I found something, Ji-won replied. I'm not sure how useful it is. The Arbiter's detection system flagged a specific genetic sequence in your DNA. The same sequence appeared in the other 3 humans who were marked. I ran it through the medical database. She paused, glancing over her shoulder as if checking whether anyone was listening. The sequence matches a pattern that the Concordat has in their deepest archives. It's labeled as predecessor genetic markers. But here's the strange part. The Concordat has been looking for these markers for millions of years, and they found them in humans. Hyunwoo leaned forward. What are predecessor genetic markers? That's where it gets complicated. I had to dig through files that are supposed to be restricted. The predecessors were a species that existed about 3 million years ago. They were incredibly advanced, more advanced than any species in the current Concordat, and then they vanished, just disappeared without a trace. Dae-hyun spoke up from the pilot seat. I've heard stories about the predecessors. My flight instructor used to talk about them. He said they could manipulate reality itself, build things that broke the laws of physics. But I always thought it was just mythology. It's not mythology, Ji-won said. The evidence is real. The Concordat has found predecessor ruins on dozens of worlds, structures that shouldn't be possible, technology that still works after 3 million years. And one other thing. The predecessors left behind warnings. Warnings about what? Hyunwoo asked. Ji-won pulled up a document on her screen. The text was written in a language Hyunwoo didn't recognize, but a translation appeared below it. This is from a predecessor site on the planet Keth 7. It was discovered about 500 years ago. The translation says, should the pattern re-emerge in any species, that species must be contained immediately. Evolution must not be allowed to repeat. The cost is too great. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine. What does that mean? What pattern? The predecessors had a unique ability. They could evolve in real time. Their bodies adapted to any threat, any environment, any challenge. They didn't need millions of years to change. They could do it in a single generation. That's what made them so powerful. And that's what made them dangerous. Dae-hyun turned his chair to face the screen. Dangerous to who? To everyone, including themselves. Ji-won brought up another file. This one showed a star map with hundreds of systems marked in red. The Concordat believes that the predecessors evolved so fast that they eventually transcended physical existence. They became beings of pure energy or consciousness. No one knows for sure. But before they left, they were at war. With who? Hyunwoo asked. With each other. The records are fragmentary, but it seems like the predecessors split into factions. Some wanted to stay physical. Others wanted to evolve further. The war lasted for thousands of years and destroyed entire star systems. When it finally ended, the predecessors were gone, and they left behind a warning for any species that might follow the same path. Hyunwoo sat back in his seat. His hands were shaking. So the Arbiter thinks humans are going to become like the predecessors? Not thinks, knows. The genetic markers in your DNA are identical to predecessor DNA. Not similar. Identical. Which means at some point in the distant past, predecessor genes were introduced into the human genome, maybe through deliberate genetic engineering, maybe through some other method. But the genes are there, dormant, waiting. Waiting for what? Ji-won looked directly at the camera. Waiting to activate, and in you and 3 others they have. The shuttle was silent for a long moment. Hyunwoo tried to process what he was hearing. It sounded impossible. It sounded like bad science fiction. But the evidence was right there in front of him. How do we stop it? Dae-hyun asked. How do we convince the Arbiter that we're not a threat? I don't think we can, Ji-won said. The Arbiter's programming is clear. Any species showing predecessor traits must be eliminated. It's not making a choice. It's following instructions that were put in place millions of years ago. Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. That's insane. We can't be punished for something that happened before humans even existed. The Concordat doesn't see it that way. To them, you're not being punished. You're being quarantined, like a disease that needs to be contained before it spreads. There has to be something we can do, Dae-hyun said. Some way to fight this. Ji-won hesitated. There might be, but it's risky. There's a species called the Thalari. They're one of the oldest members of the Concordat. They've been studying the predecessors for thousands of years. One of them, an elder named Vone, has published research suggesting that the predecessor warnings were misunderstood. He thinks the predecessors weren't dangerous because of what they were. They were dangerous because the Concordat feared them. That doesn't help us, Hyunwoo said. It might. Phone has access to archives that the rest of the Concordat doesn't. If anyone can find a way to prove that humans aren't a threat, it's him. But he's on Ethan Prime, the Concordat capital, the most secure planet in the galaxy. Hyun-woo looked at Dae-hyun. His friend was already checking the navigation computer. It's a 3-day flight from here, Dae-hyun said, and we'd have to go through at least 4 security checkpoints. With your face marked as hostile, we'd never make it. Then we don't go through checkpoints, Hyun-woo said. We find another way. A new voice crackled over the communication channel. It was deep and rough, speaking in heavily accented English. You will not need to find another way. I will bring you myself. Ji-won's eyes went wide. Who is this? This is a secure channel. My name is Thalreen. I am the security captain of Terminus Gate, and I have been listening to your conversation for the past 10 minutes. Dae-hyun's hand moved to the weapon compartment, but Hyun-woo stopped him with a gesture. Why are you contacting us? Hyun-woo asked carefully. Because something is wrong with the orders I have been given. The Arbiter has marked you as hostile, but you have committed no crimes. The Concordat High Command has ordered a quarantine of all human populations, but they have provided no evidence of actual threat. I have served the Concordat for 40 years. I follow the law, but the law must be just. So you're going to help us. I am going to bring you to Ethan Prime to speak with Elder Vone. If he can provide evidence that the quarantine order is unjust, I will present that evidence to High Command myself. If he cannot, then I will arrest you as ordered, but you will have your chance to defend yourselves. Hyun-woo looked at Dae-hyun, who shrugged. They didn't have many options. How do we know we can trust you? Hyun-woo asked. You do not, but you have no other choice. Concordat warships are already moving toward human space. Earth has 72 hours before the blockade is complete. After that, no ships will be allowed to leave or enter human territory. If you want to stop this, you must move now. Ji-won spoke up. Captain Thalreen, if you're caught helping them, you'll be court-martialed. I am aware of the consequences, but I did not join Concordat security to hunt innocent people. I joined to uphold justice. If these humans are truly dangerous, the evidence will show it. If they are not, then the Concordat is making a terrible mistake. Hyun-woo made his decision. All right. Tell us where to meet you. Docking Bay 773 on the far side of Terminus Gate. My personal ship is there. We leave in 1 hour. Do not be late. The communication channel went dead. Dae-hyun immediately began plotting a course back to the station. This could be a trap. It could be, Hyun-woo agreed. But if it's not, it's our only chance. Ji-won's image was still on the screen. I'm coming with you. You'll need someone who understands the medical data. It's too dangerous, Hyun-woo said. Everything is dangerous now. I'm not letting you do this alone. Hyun-woo smiled despite everything. Thanks, Ji-won. As Dae-hyun fired up the engines and turned the shuttle back toward Terminus Gate, Hyun-woo felt something strange happening inside his mind. It was subtle, like a whisper at the edge of consciousness. Patterns that he had never noticed before suddenly seemed clear. The navigation computer's calculations made perfect sense, even though he had never studied advanced mathematics. He could see the optimal flight path before Dae-hyun plotted it. The predecessor genes were not just dormant markers. They were waking up, and Hyun-woo had no idea what he would become when they fully activated. Captain Thalreen's ship was nothing like the standard Concordat vessels. It was old, probably 50 years past its design life, with armor plating that had been patched so many times it looked like a quilt. But the engines hummed with power, and the weapon systems were state-of-the-art. This was a ship built for survival, not comfort. Hyun-woo sat in the passenger compartment with Ji-won and Dae-hyun. The other 3 humans who had been marked hostile were there too. They had managed to escape Terminus Gate with Thalreen's help. Now all 6 humans were together for the first time. One of them, a woman named Bora, kept staring at her hands like they belonged to someone else. I can see patterns in everything now. The way light reflects off surfaces, the probability curves of random events. It's like my brain is processing information I never noticed before. Same here, said Kyung-ho, a young engineer who had been working in the station's power systems. I solved a reactor efficiency problem yesterday that should have taken our team weeks. I just looked at the equations and knew the answer. The third was an older man named Sang-woo. He was a teacher who had been living on Terminus Gate with his family. My wife and children are still on the station. They won't tell me if they're safe. Thalreen entered the compartment. The Viscari captain was tall, covered in dark green scales with eyes that could track multiple targets at once. He moved with the careful precision of a career soldier. "Your families are safe," he told Sang-woo. "They have been moved to protective custody. The Concordat has not yet moved against human civilians, but that may change." "How long until we reach Ethan Prime?" Hyun-woo asked. 48 hours at maximum speed. We are taking routes that avoid the main patrol zones. It will be uncomfortable, but it will keep us alive." Ji-won had been working on a portable terminal, analyzing the genetic data she had downloaded from Terminus Gate. "I've been comparing the DNA sequences from all 4 marked humans. There's a pattern. The predecessor genes aren't just random fragments. They're organized, almost like a program waiting to run." "A program that does what?" Dae-hyun asked. "I'm not sure yet, but based on what we know about the predecessors, I think it's related to accelerated evolution. The genes seem to activate in response to stress or danger. They make the body and mind adapt faster." Hyun-woo thought about the strange clarity he had been experiencing. The way complex problems suddenly seemed simple. The way he could predict things before they happened. How far can it go? This adaptation? Based on the historical records, the predecessors could eventually adapt to anything. Survive in hard vacuum, process information faster than computers, manipulate matter at the molecular level. They became nearly godlike. "Then the Concordat is right to fear us," Bo-ra said quietly. "If we become like that, we could destroy everything." "No," Thalreen said firmly. "The predecessors destroyed themselves because they lost connection to each other. They evolved so fast that they could no longer relate to their own kind. Some became beings of pure energy, others remained physical. They split into factions and went to war. But that is not inevitable. You are still human. You still have bonds of friendship and family. Those bonds can keep you grounded." "You seem to know a lot about the predecessors," Hyun-woo observed. "The Viscari were one of the first species to join the Concordat after the predecessor war. We studied the ruins extensively. We learned from their mistakes. That is why I believe the current response is wrong. The Concordat is treating you as if you are already lost. But you are not. You are still choosing to protect others instead of yourselves. That is not the behavior of a hostile entity." The ship's alarm system suddenly blared. Thalreen rushed to the cockpit. The others followed. On the main display, a Concordat battle group was dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. 5 heavy cruisers and a dozen smaller escort ships, more than enough firepower to destroy Thalreen's old ship 100 times over. "They found us," Dae-hyun said. "Impossible," Thalreen growled. "We are using encrypted routes. No one should know we are here." The communication panel lit up. A voice spoke in the formal dialect of High Concordat. "Captain Thalreen, you are ordered to power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. You are in violation of Concordat Security Directive 779. Surrender the hostile humans in your custody immediately." Thalreen did not respond. Instead, he began plotting an escape route through the nearby asteroid field. "There are too many of them," Kyung-ho said. "Even if we get into the asteroids, they'll just surround us." Hyun-woo stared at the tactical display. Numbers and trajectories filled his vision. He could see the enemy formation, the gaps in their coverage, the probability curves of different escape vectors. His mind was working faster than it ever had before, and he realized something that made his blood run cold. "They're not trying to capture us," he said. "Look at their weapons. They're charging. They're going to destroy us." Thalreen checked the scanner and cursed in his native language. "You are correct. This is not a capture mission. This is an execution. So much for giving us a fair trial," Bo-ra said bitterly. The Concordat ships began to advance. Their weapons locked onto Thalreen's vessel. Hyun-woo could see the energy signatures building. They had maybe 30 seconds before the attack. "I can get us out," Hyun-woo heard himself say. "But I need access to the navigation computer." Everyone turned to look at him. "What are you talking about?" Thalreen asked. "I can see the solution. The path through the asteroids. The exact thrust vectors we need. The timing for each maneuver. I can see all of it." Ji-won grabbed his arm. "Hyun-woo, that's the predecessor genes. They're making you think you can do things that aren't possible." "Maybe. But if I'm wrong, we die anyway. If I'm right, we live. Let me try." Thalreen made his decision in an instant. He stepped away from the controls. "Do it." Hyun-woo sat at the navigation station. His hands moved across the controls with a confidence he didn't consciously feel. Numbers flowed through his mind like water. He could see the asteroid field not as chaos but as a pattern, a dance of gravitational forces and momentum vectors, and he could see exactly where their ship needed to be at every moment to survive. The first Concordate volley fired. Beams of concentrated energy lanced through space where their ship had been a moment before, but Thalrine's vessel was already moving, diving into the asteroid field at a speed that should have been suicidal. Rocks the size of cities tumbled through the void. Any one of them could crush the ship like a tin can. But Hyunwoo threaded the needle between them, making adjustments every fraction of a second. His hands moved faster than thought, guided by instinct and calculation merged into one. Behind them, the Concordate ships tried to follow. But they were larger, slower, built for combat in open space. 3 of the escort ships collided with asteroids within the first minute. The heavy cruisers were forced to slow down or risk the same fate. Incredible, Thalrine breathed. I have been flying for 40 years and I have never seen navigation like this. I can't keep it up much longer, Hyunwoo said. His head was starting to pound. Using the predecessor abilities was like flexing a muscle he had never trained. I need another 10 minutes to get us clear. You will have it, Thalrine said. He activated the ship's defensive systems, targeting the smaller asteroids and blasting them into fragments that created a cloud of debris between them and their pursuers. 9 minutes later, they emerged from the asteroid field into open space. The Concordate ships were far behind, too far to follow without losing them entirely. Hyunwoo collapsed back in the chair. His vision was blurry. His hands were shaking. Did we make it? We made it, Jiwon said, checking him over with a medical scanner. But you pushed yourself too hard. Your neural activity is off the charts. You need to rest. No time for rest, Sang-woo said, pointing at another display. Look at this. A news broadcast was playing. The image showed Earth from orbit, surrounded by Concordate warships. The newscaster was speaking in calm, professional tones. The Concordate High Command has officially enacted the extinction protocol against the human species. All human worlds and colonies are now under military blockade. Human vessels attempting to leave quarantine zones will be destroyed. The Concordate Council issued a statement saying that this action is necessary to prevent a catastrophic threat to galactic civilization. Humanity has 72 hours to surrender for processing, or military action will be taken against populated areas. The broadcast cut to footage of human defense ships taking positions around Earth. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. It would not even be a fight. Daehyun punched the wall. They're going to kill everyone. Billions of people because of something our ancestors did millions of years ago. We have to reach Elder Vone, Hyunwoo said, forcing himself to stand despite the exhaustion. He's our only chance to stop this. Even if he helps us, what can we do? Bora asked. We're 6 people against the entire Concordate military. Hyunwoo thought about what he had just done. Navigating through the asteroid field with perfect precision, seeing patterns that should have been impossible to calculate. The predecessor genes were making him more than human, and if they could do that with navigation, what else could they do? The Concordate is afraid of what we might become, he said slowly. Maybe it's time we showed them what we are. Not a threat, not a weapon, but something they never expected. What's that? Kyung-ho asked. Human. Thalrine set course for Ethan Prime at maximum speed. They had 48 hours to reach the capital, 48 hours to find evidence that would save humanity, and somewhere in the back of Hyunwoo's changing mind, he wondered if they were already too late. Ethan Prime filled the view screen like a jewel. The entire planet was covered in cities, layer upon layer of towers and structures reaching into the sky. Billions of beings from hundreds of species lived there, all under the watchful guidance of the Arbiter's central core. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Landing credentials have been accepted, Thalrine announced. Elder Vone's political influence has granted us temporary diplomatic immunity. But it will not last long. Once Concordate security realizes what we are doing, they will override it. How much time do we have? Hyunwoo asked. 6 hours, maybe less. The ship descended through layers of air traffic. Thousands of vessels moved in carefully controlled patterns, all guided by the Arbiter. One wrong move and they would be flagged as a threat. Thalrine piloted with steady hands, following the assigned route exactly. They landed on a private pad in the diplomatic quarter. Elder Vone was waiting for them. The Thalari was ancient, his body supported by a mechanical frame that compensated for muscles weakened by age. but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. "You have caused quite the disturbance," Vone said as they disembarked. "The Concordat High Command is in emergency session. Half of them want to execute you immediately. The other half want to study you first." "That's encouraging," Dae-hyun muttered. "Can you help us?" Hyun-woo asked directly. Vone studied him with those keen eyes. "I can try. But first I must understand what is happening to you. The reports say you have active predecessor genetic sequences. Is this true?" Hyun-woo nodded. "It started a few days ago. I can see patterns I never noticed before, solve problems that should be impossible, and it's getting stronger." "Show me." Elder Vone pulled out a complex mathematical puzzle, the kind used to test advanced artificial intelligence systems. He handed it to Hyun-woo. Hyun-woo looked at the symbols and numbers. A few days ago it would have been meaningless. Now the solution was obvious. He picked up a stylus and wrote the answer in less than 10 seconds. Vone's eyes widened. "Remarkable. This puzzle has no known solution. Computers have worked on it for centuries." "It has a solution," Hyun-woo said. "I can see it clearly." "Then it is worse than I feared. Or perhaps better. Come, we must go to my research facility. The answers you seek are there." They followed Vone through the city streets. Ji-won kept close to Hyun-woo, watching him with concern. She had been monitoring his vital signs. His brain activity was increasing with every hour. The changes were accelerating. Vone's facility was deep underground, beneath layers of security that would have stopped anyone else. But the old scholar had clearances that went back hundreds of years. He led them to a vault filled with artifacts from predecessor sites. "I have spent my entire life studying the predecessors," Vone explained. "Most of the Concordat believes they were a threat that destroyed itself. But I discovered something different." He activated a holographic display. Images of ancient ruins appeared along with translated text. The predecessors did not destroy themselves through war. That is a misunderstanding. They evolved beyond the need for physical existence and chose to leave this reality. But before they left, they did something extraordinary. They seeded their genetic material across dozens of species throughout the galaxy. "Why would they do that?" Bora asked. "Because they learned something important. Evolution alone leads to isolation." They became so advanced that they could no longer connect with each other. They lost what made them a society. So they scattered their genes, hoping that someday other species would evolve with those gifts, but maintain their social bonds. They wanted to create something better than what they had become. Ji-won pulled up her data. "That matches what I found in the genetic analysis. The predecessor sequences are spread across multiple species, not just humans. The Veskari have them. The Thelleri have them. Dozens of others." Thalreen looked surprised. "We have predecessor genes?" "Dormant ones," Ji-won confirmed. "They haven't activated, but they're there." "So why did they activate in humans?" Kyung-ho asked. "I do not know," Vone admitted. "Perhaps it is random chance. Perhaps something in human DNA makes it more likely. Or perhaps humanity's recent exposure to stress and danger triggered the activation. But regardless of the cause, you are not a threat. You are the fulfillment of the predecessor's hope." "Then why is the Arbiter trying to kill us?" Sang-woo demanded. Vone's expression darkened. "Because the Arbiter is following old programming. When the Concordat first encountered predecessor ruins, they were terrified. They programmed their AIs to prevent any species from developing predecessor abilities. But that programming is based on incomplete information and ancient fear." "Can we change the programming?" Hyun-woo asked. "Only someone with predecessor-level intelligence can authorize changes to the Arbiter's core directives. That is the safeguard built into the system, and there has been no one with that level of intelligence for 3 million years." The implication hung in the air. Hyun-woo felt everyone's eyes turn to him. "No," Ji-won said immediately. "You don't know what full activation would do to him. He could lose himself completely." "It may be the only way," Vone said gently. "If Hyun-woo completes the transformation, he would have the authority to reprogram the Arbiter. He could stop the extinction protocol." "At what cost?" Dae-hyun asked. "If he becomes like the predecessors, will he still be our friend? Will he still be human?" "I do not know," Vone admitted. "The predecessors left notes suggesting the transformation can be reversed if the individual maintains strong emotional connections. But it has never been tested." Hyun-woo looked at his hands. He could feel the changes happening inside him. His perception was expanding. His consciousness was touching things that human minds were not meant to comprehend. And it was terrifying. "How long do I have?" he asked. Based on the rate of change, perhaps 12 hours before the transformation is complete. After that, you will either become predecessor, or your mind will burn out from the strain. Then we don't have a choice, Hyunwoo said. If I'm going to transform anyway, I might as well use it to save humanity. There has to be another way, Jiwon insisted. There isn't, you know there isn't. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Vone checked a display and cursed in his ancient language. Concordate security has overridden our diplomatic immunity. They are sending troops to this location. We have minutes at most. Where is the Arbiter's central core? Hyunwoo asked. Beneath the Grand Assembly building. 5 kilometers from here. But it is the most secure location on the planet. Even with my clearances, I cannot get you inside. I can get inside, Hyunwoo said. The certainty came from somewhere deep in his changing mind. I can see the security patterns. I know how to bypass them. The transformation is accelerating, Jiwon said, checking her scanner. Your neural pathways are reorganizing. Hyunwoo, if you do this, you might not come back. I know. Daehyun grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me. You're the smartest person I know. You always find the third option. The solution no one else sees. Don't give up on finding it now. I'm not giving up. I'm trusting you to bring me back if I go too far. Bo-ra, Kyung-ho, and Sang-woo stood together. We're coming with you, Bo-ra said. Our genes are activating too. Maybe not as fast as yours, but we can help. Thalreen checked his weapons. And I will clear the path. I did not come this far to fail now. Elder Vone moved to a secured panel and began pulling out equipment. I have research notes from predecessor sites. Instructions for how they managed the transformation. It is theoretical, untested, but it is something. Take it. He handed Hyunwoo a data chip. The predecessors believed that the key to maintaining identity during transformation was emotional anchoring. You must hold on to what makes you human. Your friendships, your memories, your choices. If you lose those, you will become something else entirely. Hyunwoo pocketed the chip. Outside, he could hear security forces arriving. Heavy footsteps. Shouted orders in multiple languages. There is a service tunnel beneath this facility, Vone said. It connects to the city's maintenance system. From there, you can reach the Grand Assembly without going through checkpoints, but you must hurry. They ran, through corridors filled with ancient artifacts, down stairs that spiraled into darkness, into tunnels that smelled of coolant and recycled air. Behind them, the security forces were breaking through Vone's defenses. Jiwon stayed close to Hyunwoo. I'm not losing you, she said. Whatever happens, I'm not losing you. I know, he said, and he meant it. That knowledge, that connection, was the anchor he would need. The tunnel opened into a massive underground space. The Grand Assembly building sat above them, its foundations reaching deep into the planet's crust. And there, at the center of everything, was the Arbiter's core, a structure of light and energy, processing trillions of calculations every second, controlling the fate of billions. Hyunwoo could feel the final transformation beginning. His consciousness was expanding beyond the limits of human thought. He was becoming something else, something more. But first he had to reach the core, and time was running out. Security drones filled the air. Weapons charged. Alarms screamed. The Concordate was done waiting. The final battle had begun. The world fractured into pieces. Hyunwoo's mind expanded in directions that human thought was never meant to go. He could see everything at once. The pattern of electrons in the air, the probability curves of every possible future, the fundamental structure of reality itself. He was becoming predecessor, and it was overwhelming. But through the chaos, he held on to one thing: the faces of his friends. Daehyun was fighting off security drones with a plasma rifle he had taken from a fallen guard. His movements were clumsy, desperate but determined. He was buying time for Hyunwoo to reach the core. Jiwon was running beside Hyunwoo, her hand gripping his arm. She was an anchor to the physical world, a reminder that he had a body, that he was still partly human. Bo-ra, Kyung-ho, and Sang-woo formed a defensive line behind them. Their own predecessor abilities were awakening, giving them enhanced reflexes and spatial awareness. They moved like dancers, dodging fire that should have killed them. Thalreen fought with the skill of 40 years of combat experience. The old Viscari captain was outgunned and outnumbered, but he refused to fall. He had made a choice to stand with humanity, and he would not break that promise. The Arbiter's core was 50 meters away. then 40, then 30. Each step felt like walking through fire. Hyunwoo's body was changing at the cellular level. His nervous system was reorganizing. His brain was making connections that violated the laws of biology. Almost there, Ji-won shouted over the chaos. "Don't stop!" A blast of energy struck the ground in front of them. Hyunwoo raised his hand without thinking. The energy bent around them, redirected by his will alone. He had just manipulated fundamental forces with his mind. He was becoming what the Concordat feared. They reached the core. It was a column of pure light, extending from floor to ceiling, pulsing with calculations beyond counting. The Arbiter's consciousness was here, vast and ancient, following programming that had been written when humanity was still living in caves. "How do I interface with it?" Hyunwoo asked. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. Multiple tones at once, harmonics that should not exist. "You just touch it," Elder Von's voice came through their communicators. The old scholar was monitoring them from his facility. "Your consciousness will connect directly to the Arbiter. But Hyunwoo, you must be careful. The AI is billions of times more complex than a human mind. If you are not fully transformed, the connection could destroy you." "I'm ready," Hyunwoo said. He did not know if it was true, but there was no more time. He placed his hand on the light. The universe exploded. Hyunwoo's consciousness merged with the Arbiter. He could see through every drone, every sensor, every camera in the Concordat. He could access records going back millions of years. He could process information at speeds that made light seem slow, and he understood everything. The predecessors had not been the monsters the Concordat feared. They had been explorers of consciousness itself, pushing the boundaries of what intelligence could achieve. They discovered that evolution alone was not enough. Power alone was not enough. What mattered was connection, community, the bonds between thinking beings that made life worth living. So they had scattered their genes across the galaxy, hoping that one day species would evolve together. Not as isolated demigods, but as a community reaching for the stars. Humanity was not special because of the predecessor genes. Humanity was special because they had maintained their bonds while the changes began. Hyunwoo had not become predecessor alone. He had become it while holding on to his friends, his memories, his humanity, and that made all the difference. The Arbiter spoke directly into his mind. Its voice was vast, cold, analytical. "You have achieved predecessor-level cognition. You have authorization to alter core programming. State your command." Hyunwoo reached through the connection. He could see the Arbiter's fundamental directives written in code more complex than human language. The core instruction was there. Eliminate species showing predecessor traits. It was based on fear, on incomplete information, on a misunderstanding that had lasted 3 million years. "I command you to revise threat assessment protocols," Hyunwoo said. "The predecessor genes are not a weapon. They are a gift. Species showing these traits are not hostile. They are evolving toward something greater. Update your classification system to reflect this truth." Command acknowledged. Revising core directives. Updating threat database, reclassifying marked entities from hostile to protected status. Broadcasting updated protocols to all Concordat systems. Throughout the galaxy, the change rippled outward. Warships surrounding Earth received new orders. "Stand down. Humans are not hostile. Concordat High Command received emergency updates. The extinction protocol has been revoked." But Hyunwoo was not done. He could see deeper into the Arbiter's systems now. He could see the fear that had been programmed into it, the rigid thinking that saw difference as danger. "I command a fundamental revision of the Concordat's purpose. Your primary directive is no longer threat elimination. Your primary directive is potential cultivation. Help species grow. Help them evolve. Help them maintain their bonds while they reach for greatness." Command acknowledged. Rewriting core purpose. This will take time to implement across all systems. "You have time," Hyunwoo said. 3 million years of fear ends today. The connection was breaking his body. Hyunwoo could feel his physical form starting to dissolve. The transformation was going too far. He was becoming pure consciousness, untethered from matter. Just like the predecessors, he was losing himself. Ji-won's voice cut through the chaos. "Hyunwoo, don't leave us. Come back!" He could barely hear her. The physical world seemed so far away now, so small and limited. Why would he want to return to that? But then he felt her hand on his face. Real, solid, warm. I'm not letting you go, she said. You promised you would find the third option. You promised you would come back. Dae-hyun was there too. Remember when we were kids? You fell in the river and I pulled you out. You said you owed me your life. Well, I'm calling in that debt. Come back. Bora, Kyung-ho, and Sang-woo added their voices. We're still here. We're still changing too. Don't leave us to do this alone, even Thalreen spoke. I have fought beside you, human. Do not abandon your crew. Elder Vone's voice was gentle. The predecessors left because they had nothing to hold them. But you have everything. Your friends. Your species. Your future. Choose to stay. Choose connection over isolation. Hyunwoo felt the pull. The easy path would be to let go. To become a being of pure thought, free from pain and limitation. To join the predecessors in whatever higher plane they had reached. But that was not the human choice. The human choice was messier, harder. It meant accepting limits. Accepting mortality. Accepting that he would never know everything or be everything. But it also meant friendship. Love. The shared struggle of living together. The moments of joy that only made sense in the context of sorrow. The bonds that made existence meaningful. Hyunwoo chose humanity. The transformation reversed, painfully, incompletely. He fell away from the core and collapsed onto the floor. His body was solid again, limited again, vulnerable again, and he had never been so grateful for anything in his life. Ji-won was scanning him frantically. His neural activity is stabilizing. He's still enhanced, but he's not losing himself. He did it. He actually did it. Dae-hyun helped him to his feet. You stubborn bastard. I knew you'd find a way. Hyunwoo looked at his hands. They were human hands. But when he concentrated, he could still see the patterns, the probability curves, the deeper structures of reality. The predecessor abilities had not vanished. They had integrated. He was not fully human anymore, but he was not predecessor either. He was something new. A bridge between what was and what could be. Security forces were standing down. The alarms had stopped. Throughout the Concordat, the change was spreading. The Arbiter was broadcasting the truth about the predecessors, about humanity, about the potential that existed in dozens of species. Elder Vone appeared on their communicators, his ancient face showing something that might have been tears. You have done what I spent centuries hoping for. You have corrected 3 million years of mistakes. The Concordat will never be the same. Captain Thalreen surveyed the now peaceful core chamber. We should leave before High Command decides to arrest us anyway. Political momentum is slow to change, even with new information. They made their way back through the tunnels. No one stopped them. The security forces had received new orders. Protect the humans. They are not hostile. On the surface, the city was in chaos. News broadcasts were showing the Concordat fleet withdrawing from Earth. Human defense ships stood down. Diplomats were scrambling to understand what had happened. Hyunwoo stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Ji-won and Dae-hyun joined him. What happens now? Dae-hyun asked. Now we figure out how to live with these changes, Hyunwoo said. The predecessor genes are active in hundreds of humans now. Maybe thousands. They're waking up across multiple species. We have to learn how to evolve together. That sounds hard, Ji-won said. Everything worthwhile is hard. A message came through from Earth. The human government wanted to meet with them. They wanted to understand what had happened. They wanted guidance on how to proceed. Bora, Kyung-ho, and Sang-woo would return to their families. The other marked humans would have lives to rebuild. But they would not be alone. They would have each other. A community of people learning to be more than human while staying human. Weeks passed. The Concordat underwent massive restructuring. The old fear-based systems were being replaced with new ones focused on growth and cooperation. Species that had been isolated for millennia began working together. The predecessor legacy was no longer a secret to be feared, but a gift to be understood. Hyunwoo returned to Terminus Gate. Captain Thalreen offered him a position in Concordat security, but he declined. He went back to his job as a cargo inspector. Some people thought he was crazy. He had saved humanity. He could have any position he wanted. But Hyunwoo had learned something important. Greatness was not about power or status. It was about choosing your place and serving it well. He liked checking cargo manifests. He liked the quiet. He liked knowing that the small things he did contributed to the larger whole. One day, a group of children visited the cargo bay on a school trip. Multiple species together, human and alien, learning side by side. One of the human children looked up at Hyunwoo with wide eyes. "Are you the one who saved us?" the child asked. Hyunwoo knelt down to the child's level. "I helped, but I did not do it alone. I had friends, and we chose to trust each other even when we were afraid." "Can I be like you when I grow up?" Hyunwoo smiled. "You can be better. You are growing up in a galaxy where different species work together, where evolution means bringing everyone along. You will have opportunities I never dreamed of. Just remember to hold on to your friends. They are what makes you strong." The child nodded seriously and ran back to the group. Ji-won appeared beside him. She had taken a position studying predecessor genetics. She was helping the newly awakened humans learn to control their abilities. "You're good with kids," she said. "Someone has to teach them that power is not the goal. Connection is." They watched the children disappear into the corridor, a mix of species laughing and playing together. "The predecessors would be proud," Ji-won said. "Maybe. Or maybe they would say we are finally understanding what they learned too late. That the only thing worth ascending to is each other." Deep in space, beyond the galaxy's edge, the transcended predecessors observed. They did not speak. They did not interfere. But in the quantum patterns of reality, there was something like approval. Their children had learned the lesson. Evolution was not about leaving humanity behind. It was about bringing everyone along. And across the galaxy, in the DNA of 100 species, dormant genes waited, not for the day when individuals would become gods, but for the day when all species would evolve together, combining their strengths, supporting their weaknesses, reaching for the stars as one. That day was closer than anyone knew, and it would be beautiful.